It's Thursday and I decided to wear my ties. I mean, what other time of year can you really get away with a shirt like this? Maybe I'm not getting away with it. They all commented on it at the coffee shop this morning. Well, happy Thursday, everyone. A couple of days ago, maybe a week ago, recently, I shared with you one of the, or a portion of one of the classes that I facilitated at the Maybe Logic Academy, the Robert Anton Wilson online university academy thing. And it concerned the tarot cards and the climax of the descent of matter. Okay, and we talked about the Ten of Discs, and the Ten of Discs and the Princess of Discs. Princess of Discs being so super important, at least in my mind, to the tarot, because in a sense it's the whole mechanism behind the cycle of regeneration, which is a big thing when you're talking about creation and existence. And in doing so, I didn't have time to share this, and some of it sort of overlaps. But this is an essay that a paper that I presented for a tarot conference a number of years ago, and it's called "The Ten of Discs is Screwed." Now, if you've attended any of my lectures on the Thoth Tarot or anything else, I've got this running gag that the Princess of Discs and the Ten of Discs is screwed, because the princesses are, the court cards, they're screwed, they're treated differently. They don't get 30 degrees of the zodiac to rule or anything like that. But they rule with the aces on quadrants of space. The princesses are very special, and the suit of earth, the suit of discs, the element earth, seems like the lowest of the low, but it's somehow connected directly to the highest high. And this brings up the seeming ironic mystery that they always told us when we were kids in Sunday school, that even the angels, even the highest angels, would just give their wings to be a human, or to manifest on earth, even to be an earthworm, because as high as the angels are, they're stuck in that middle management position. They can't ascend any higher. They're stuck there. Why would they envy the earthworm? Because the earthworm isn't stuck there. The earthworm has within itself, the earth element has within itself absolutely every DNA of the highest high, through middle management, through the lowest low. It's got it all. And all it has to do is process that lowest of the low, to distill it, to alchemically utilize it to regenerate back to the highest high. It's a big thing, okay, and it's the main plot of the Emerald Tablet of Hermes, and all of that. So I want to share with you, sort of as an adjunct to the thing I did the other day concerning the suit of discs, the 10 of discs, and the princess of discs. And in this case, I'm using the Thoth Tarot as my example. The first thing we must keep in mind when discussing all the cards of the Thoth Tarot is that their images are modeled to a lesser or greater degree upon those of the Golden Dawn deck. In fact, I don't think it too much of an exaggeration to say that the Thoth Tarot is a hybrid of the Golden Dawn Tarot. This is especially evident in the court cards and the small cards. The original GD deck was never printed or published. It was, in all likelihood, designed by S.L. Mathers and painted by his wife Moynia, although I can't be certain of either of those. It was loaned to members of the Golden Dawn who were obliged to make their own copies, no matter how funky. To my knowledge, the original deck has been lost in the mists of time, but there are several fine modern versions of the Golden Dawn deck currently available that appear to be faithful representations of surviving descriptions. And I'll digress to point to the Golden Dawn deck of Mr. Wang. It might not be the sexiest deck, but I think Golden Dawn-wise, it's probably pretty damn correct. And of course, the wonderful Golden Dawn deck of Tabby and Chick Cicero. And I'm sure there's others too, but those just come to mind. If you don't already have one, I encourage you to get your hands on one and study it vis-a-vis the Thoth Tarot. An important feature of my book, the Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot book, is the inclusion of a description of the Golden Dawn model at the very beginning of my comments on the individual cards. So I review the GD images. So I'm going to encourage you to acquaint yourselves with the material, with that material, rather than dwelling on it right here. Of course, I'm encouraging you to buy that book. If you already got one, get another one. Get more. Give them to friends. But I digress. Now I'd like us to do something else. So I hope you're reasonably comfortable with the method of the madness of how small cards get their elemental, zodiacal, and planetary qualities, and how their divinatory characters are the result of these factors. So I sort of give an equation for the characteristics and the divinatory meanings of the small cards especially. Each of the 36 small cards is allotted a planetary number, or a planetary, a planet, okay? Starting with 0 degrees Leo, which is the old sort of Chaldean start of the year, the astrological year at 0 degrees Leo. And they go down, the cards go around the zodiac, and the planets are allotted in descending tree of life order: Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sol, Venus, Mercury, and Luna. And then it repeats over and over again. It doubles up at a Mars at the end of the solar year, at the last degree of Pisces, and the first 10 degrees of Aries. Both are assigned Mars. With those exceptions, that's the planetary alignment to all the 36 small cards. And of course, the 2s, 3s, 4s of their suit would represent the 30 degrees of the cardinal signs of the zodiac, and the 5, 6, 7s would rule the fixed signs of their the element of their individual suit, and the 8, 9, 10s would be the mutable signs. So that gives us a little formula for every one of the small cards. You've got the zodiac sign that it's in, you got the planet in that zodiac sign, and you've got the number of the card itself, which gives it a projection upon a tree of life. All the 6s are assigned to Tifereth. Okay, so if you got a happy planet in a happy zodiac sign in a happy Sephiroth, you got yourself a happy tarot card. And if you've got ones that are fighting each other, a planet that's unhappy in a sign, or a sign that's unhappy hosting a planet, and in one of these off-center 8s or 7s on the Tree of Life, you got a difficult card. So what I'm saying is, I hope you're comfortable sort of with that formula, because what I'm about to say is going to make a lot more sense. And I hope you also have at least a moderately firm grasp on the nature of the Kabalistic world each one of those suits represents. And what I mean by world is the discs are the material world, Asaya. It's the environment of consciousness that manifests as matter and material objects. And in the book, I give the example of chairs, what a chair is in all of these words. In more religious-sounding terms, this is the body of God, manifests creation itself, discs. Swords, however, are the world of the intellect, yet Zyra, the environment of consciousness wherein dwells mental images and patterns, the idea of a chair, or the blueprint of a chair. Okay. In more religious terms, the mind of God. Cups are the creative world, Braya, the environment of consciousness that creates profound and universal concepts, like our need to get off our feet. It's a chair from the idea of the general need to get off our feet. In more religious terms, it's the heart and soul of God. Wands are the archetypal world, or Atzilith, the highest, most universal level of consciousness. An environment that gets to the root of what chairs are all about, and that is the concept, the pure concept of just rest. Rest, then the idea of getting off your feet, then the mental pattern of a chair, then finally a chair in the material world. Wands, cups, swords, and discs. Every aspect of existence and being has its proper place within this full-fold structure. If we want to get biblical sounding about all of this, we could personify these ascending and descending divisions of energies, forces, and consciousness as celestial personages, such as seraphim, cherubim, archangels, angels, and finally you and me. As a matter of fact, that's just what Kabalistic magicians do. But one need not be a card-carrying magician to respect and appreciate the simplicity and elegance of this particular way of looking at things, and how clearly it's expressed in tarot. So if I may impose upon you to separate the small cards from the others and assemble them in a Kabalistic ladder made of 4 trees of life, as I've illustrated below. Okay, this is what I'm talking about. Now, I'm sure you don't want to just jump right out and do this right now, because it's going to take you a minute or two to organize your cards. And you're going to need some floor space, I think, to do this properly. But take your cards, your small cards, aces through tens of each suit, and make a tree of life out of your 10 wands. And that's your Atzilith. That's your archetypal world. That's the Yod of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. Then take your 10 cup small cards and build a little tree of life right under the tree of life of wands. Okay, now that's Braya, the creative world. And if you got a Thoth deck, if you're doing this with a Thoth deck or my Tarot Ceremonial Magic, or well, pretty much any deck. But anyway, underneath that, take the 10 cards of your sword suit, make a tree of life right under that. And finally, the discs. Take the discs, the 10, and put it on a tree of life right at the bottom. And you're going right down the 4 Kabalistic worlds from Atzilith, Braya, Yetzirah, and Asaya, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. Now these are also parts of our own soul. There's the life force itself at the top. There's our Neshama, our soul intuition there at Braya. There's our Ruach, our intellect there at Yetzirah. And there is our animal soul, our Nepish, down there in Asaya. Okay, now if you got your cards laid out like that, and if you have, say, the Thoth deck, there's actually the title of the card right on the card itself. Also, in a deck as artfully constructed Kabbalistically, strictly so, as the Thoth deck, you'll actually see the proper color scale start to degenerate and filter down as it goes. So, if you've got your cards laid out like that, take a good look at the layout of your cards and their titles. And notice how the 2s and 3s, that's the 2s and 3s of each of those 4. The 2s and 3s are almost always sublimely cool. And the 5s and 8s and the 4s and 7s run the risk of being real clinkers because of their unbalanced position on their respective trees. Notice how the 6s are universally wonderful, and so are most of the 9s, because they're right on that middle pillar. Notice especially the 10s. All but the 10 of discs, wealth, are difficult cards. 10 of wands is difficult, 10 of cups is difficult, 10 of swords, oh God, is difficult. But the 10 of discs is wealth. Now imagine, if you will, that the cards literally spring one to another in a tumbling cascade of descending light. The Ace of Wands at the very top is the source, the pure light of supreme consciousness. It's the ultimate reality behind all realities. But as the pure light appears to descend the ladder of the Tree of Wands, it becomes more and more obscured, as if passing through optical filters. And the light frequency slows down, step by step, until we find the poor 10 of Wands trodden down by the momentum of ever-diminishing light. The 10 of Wands feels like its title, oppression. If it could, the 10 of Wands would just stop the descent here and imprison the light before it abandons the world of Wands altogether. But the remaining light does escape the Ten of Wands and the world of Wands, and finds a bright welcome in the world of Cups. Okay. Ten of Wands. Yeah, oppression. Oh God, this is the end of my will. But it drips down into the Ace of Cups and that world of pride. Let's see here. Let's see. But the remaining light does escape the Ten of Wands in the world of Wands and finds a bright welcome in the world of Cups. A world that thrives on joyfully receiving the light as much as the world of Wands delighted in projecting it. World of Wands, world of Cups. World of Cups takes joy in receiving the world of Wands. I'm sure that's going to be a screen capture there. Okay. By the time the light has filtered down to the Ten of Cups, the world of Cups is joyously full, and in its bloated satiety, and that's the name of the Ten of Cups, satiety, spills the remaining light on the head of the Ace of Swords. I hope you're picturing this, because I hate to keep bringing up that thing. I should really make a tape of this with all the kind of cool PowerPoint graphics and stuff. Maybe I'll do that. Okay. How dull the pure light becomes by the time it passes through the gate of the world of swords. So much so that at each level of the suit, the individual cards attempt to capture and shunt the light into conduits of energy and mold it into shapes, patterns, and ideas. It's the world of the mind here. As if the illimitable light could be analyzed, defined, and trapped in form. The death throes of the Ten of Swords is even more tragic than that of the Ten of Wands. But at least the light has somewhere to go when it leaves the suit of swords. The light slows and crystallizes in the suit of discs. E equals MC squared. And becomes the darkness of matter. Of course, it looks to all of us whose consciousness is rooted in this world to be the light of creation itself. The tapestry of earthly life plays out in the tree of earth until, and this is Crowley's quote here, the climax of the descent into matter reaches the nadir of the ladder of creation in the Ten of Discs. Okay. The miracle of the Ten of Discs. The Ten of Discs is the bottom of the small card barrel. There's nowhere for the brown, broken dregs of the pristine light to go from there. No lower than number 10. No suit lower than Earth. It's the last daisy in the universal daisy chain. I liken it to cosmic constipation, a vulgar but very accurate description of its predicament. But is it an unhappy card? Just look at it. The tree of life is made of coins, and the last coin, Malkuth, number 10, is the biggest, fattest one of all. And look at that wealth. The Ten of Discs is happy because it is the lowest of the low, the climax of the descent into matter. The 10 holds the secret of, quote, redintegration by spirit, unquote. And these are all Crowley quotes. The secret of returning the universe and ourselves to our pristine former estate. Back in an earlier lesson, when discussing the Hermit card, I quoted Crowley, Virgo, and remember, this is the Virgo card. Last 10 degrees of Virgo. Okay. Virgo represents the lowest, most receptive, most feminine form of Earth, and forms the crust over Hades. Yet not only is Virgo ruled by Mercury, but Mercury is exalted therein. Compare the Ten of Discs, the general doctrine that the climax of the descent of matter is the signal for the redintegration by spirit. It is the formula of the princess, the mode of fulfillment of the great work. Now, earlier on, I asked you to write 2 sentences in your notebook along with this quote from DuQuette. Mercury, Earth, and the Sun are the 3 cosmic players responsible for creating the mode of fulfillment of the great work. Mercury, Earth, and the Sun. These 3 sentences describe nothing less than the secret inner processes of creation. Not only the creation of human life, but the creation of consciousness, the creation of being. They come together in the last and lowest card of the tarot, the 10 of Discs. The card Crowley calls the Hieroglyph of the cycle of regeneration. I tell the story of how the Ten of Discs literally jump-starts the cycle of regeneration. How the Ten of Discs creates from itself the Ace of Wands and starts the process of creation all over again. Please review that material. Well, there's Lon plugging his book. Mercury and Earth. Hermes penetrating the crust over Hades to rescue Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, to regenerate life on Earth with the yearly return of the Sun. The Ten of Discs equals Mercury in Virgo, the lowest, most receptive, most feminine form of Earth. It's no coincidence that the allotment of the planets to the small cards starts at 0 degrees Leo with the 5 of Wands. How else would the last of the small cards, right? This is the last of the small cards, the 10 of Discs, be allotted the divine Mercury in the last decan of Virgo. And as I point out, the true secret fertilizing ingredient in this most special of small cards recipes, the ingredient that is not apparent to the uninitiated, is the sun. The hexagram of the sun right there in the sephira of the sphere of Mercury itself in Hode. All of the other symbols are Mercury's symbols, except in the sphere of Mercury itself, implanted like a seed, like a fertilized seed, an inoculated seed, this super mercurial earth, receptive earth body is impregnated with the sun itself. The ingredient that is not apparent to the initiated is the sun. The sun carried as the lamp in the hermit's hand, and hermit is the Virgo card, in the hermit's hand, yod, spermatozoon. In the Ten of Discs, the earth is, quote, its lowest, most receptive, most feminine form. It is screwed by Hermes Mercury, whose wand is a conduit, a hollow tube carrying the fire of the sun. Mercury may penetrate, but the sun fertilizes, and life begins anew. And the story is there for those with eyes to see in the painted cardstock of the Thoth Tarot. Now, I know that might have seemed, parts of it anyway, might have seemed a little redundant from earlier last week, I guess. But I thought you would appreciate that same message in this form. So until tomorrow. Oh, and incidentally, the 10 degrees that this card represents will start, I believe, around in just a couple of weeks. Probably the 12th or 13th of September, and it's coming right up. So if you were thinking in a magical way at somehow taking advantage of the solar year and our place in the solar year for meditations or magical practices that would utilize being the triggering device that will start regenerate you. Maybe the next couple of weeks might be a good time for you to put on your magician's cap and think about doing something like that. Until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will. I might add, tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday, I may be just a little late because I have some interviews to do, and for the interviews or the presentations I'm going to go over an hour. I'll maybe 15 minutes late or something like that. Anyway, 93.